All right, welcome back to another episode. This is episode 14. Island Ball. The draft NFL draft was yesterday, so we're gonna be recapping that first, giving our thoughts or reactions, anything that we may have been surprised by, shocked by. Because it was a pretty interesting draft. I thought it started off really interesting. The Browns right away traded number two, and they honestly, I thought they got a lot for number two.
I
Um,
did too.
with the Jags, I mean, yeah, I don't know. What's your reaction to the trade?
I thought the Browns fleeced because they got a first for next year. But I mean, Travis Hunter is, I think,
Yeah.
probably the most talented player in the draft. And I think I saw reports that they have him playing both ways. Like they drafted him to play in both ways. So if they did that, then I mean, it's not a terrible pick. But the Browns, I know a lot of people are talking about like them not getting a QB or whatever. But I think they're just waiting to get Arch Manning or something. They got a good D tackle. And they got a pick next year. So I would say the Browns are the winners of that trade. But I mean, Charles Hunter's like Jacksonville, I know needs a DB and a wide receiver, so they got all that in one pick. So yeah.
Yeah.
What do you think?
Yeah, I thought it was a great trade too. In terms of the Travis Hunter thing, I thought I saw something this morning that said they're gonna primarily play him at wide receiver. I don't know how true that is though, but I'm pretty sure I saw it from Bleacher Report, and then they're gonna have packages. I don't know. That didn't. I was surprised by that, so I don't know if that's completely true. We could check that again, but
I'm checking right now, but
yeah,
I don't see like I don't I think he won't definitely play full time for wide receiver and DB, but I'd be surprised if he's not in packages at least for both.
yeah.
Let's see.
I thought it was a great pick for them though. Like even
Yeah.
they did give up a lot, but I don't know. I mean, if Travis Hunter does have the impact that he's definitely capable of having, I think his potential is like extremely high. But then
Oh yeah.
we'll
When
see.
I looked it up, it says I thought it said he's playing both sides, but it says primarily as wide receiver.
Yeah, that's what
Plan
I
to
saw this
incorporate
morning.
him as cornerback and specific defensive packages.
Yeah, that's
So
the report. That's what I saw this morning. So we'll obviously see. But yeah. Um, I mean, going more onto that, I mean, we could just talk about one thing that I think a lot of people were surprised on, with Shador falling out of the first round.
yeah,
Um, what's your thoughts on that? Were you surprised when seeing that?
I was pretty surprised to be honest, because every all the mock drafts I was seeing, I know earlier ones like he's been falling a little bit, but I was seeing like there was at one point he was like top, he was going two even. I don't know Cam Ward kind of always had the one spot, but I was surprised the Saints didn't draft him at 9. Or even Pittsburgh didn't draft him. I thought that was a good landing spot for him. The Raiders, they got Genti, which we can talk
We'll
about,
talk
but
about that,
I
yeah.
know they got Geno Smith, but I think, Shador for the Raiders would have been nice. Um, Giants passed on him. That was the big one. They took Jackson Dart over him, which is kind of crazy to me, but hey, if that's their guy, that's their guy. What spot do you think he can like in the second round? What's the spot you'd like for him to go to?
Um, that I would like for him to go to.
Uh-huh.
I don't really have a preference where I'd like. I feel like I mean it'll be interesting because the Browns have two of the first five picks in the second round. They have the very first pick.
Hmm.
Like they get to pick first today, and then I forgot who it is, but then they got like in three more picks and they have a pick. So they have two picks before the Raiders. So I mean,
Yeah.
I feel like I'd be surprised if he does fall out of that. If he doesn't go to one of those teams, the Browns or the Raiders. But
I
I
hope.
feel like the Raiders would be a pretty good spot for him. I think,
Hmm.
especially at this point. I mean, you got Geno for they just ex did they extend them for 2 years, right? So
Let's see.
does he have
I know
three
what
years?
you're saying.
Does
It's
that
the
mean
Browns,
does he have 3 years
Texans,
in total?
Titans, Browns, Raiders.
Okay.
Um, let's see. Geno Smith contract. Um, yeah, Geno Smith, 2 years, 75 mil. Yeah, so if he can pull off the bench or 2 years, 85, 66 guaranteed. Yeah, that would be perfect if he was on the bench for 2 years and started.
That's what
That's
I'm thinking. And
ideal.
obviously, I guess in terms of just landing spots, Vegas is pretty nice too. But I don't think he'd hate that. But we'll obviously see the Browns have two picks before the Raiders pick, and that's even assuming that the Raiders would take them.
Mhm.
I don't know, but that I think the Raiders would be in terms of teams that need a quarterback or like is the spot that they're in with their roster. Geno having 2 years,
Yeah.
potentially being that bridge quarterback. I think that'd be the best spot, but we'll see.
I-
I
yeah.
wasn't
I think
necessarily shocked that he fell out the first round. I mean,
you weren't.
a couple months ago when everyone had him as like consensus one or two, I don't know. I thought he was more of a late first round talent, or
Hmm.
and then like potentially like if you compared it to other drafts, I didn't think he'd be in the first round at all. I thought it was a pretty weak QB class in the sense.
Hmm.
But and then obviously he's been falling a lot, and a lot of reports are saying that this past month. So I kind of was shocked though once it got to the point the Steelers were on the clock and he was still there and they didn't take him, especially
Hmm.
because of what's happened the past couple weeks with their quarterback situation. Um,
Hmm.
so I mean, I guess they could be in talks with Rodgers, but even with that, Rodgers is, who knows when he's going to retire at this point. So.
Yeah.
I was a little shocked once it got to their pick and he was still there and they didn't pick him. But yes, I mean it'll be interesting to see where he ends up. But
I don't know the most about college football, so I'm not gonna sit here and act like I do. But who do you have Jackson Dart as a better prospect than Shador?
um to be honest, I don't. I mean, I haven't I don't really watch college
The
football too
Florida
much
coast.
either.
Hmm.
Um from what I've seen from Jackson Dart, I thought I didn't have them both as first round quarterbacks though from the games that I watched live and just some of the other tape that I saw. But
Hmm.
so I mean it'll be interesting though. But no, I don't think so. I don't have them higher. But I thought they were both around the same type of. I didn't have them either as first round quarterbacks. But,
Yeah, because I thought New York would be the perfect market for him, but
but it was interesting because before the draft happened yesterday, I was seeing some reports that like Shador's meeting with Dable didn't go well and stuff like that. But
oh, I didn't see
Oh,
that.
so that was interesting. Like that told me that they weren't definitely going to take him at 3 or whatever.
Hmm.
So I mean, after seeing that, if those reports are true, and yeah, I'm kind of not surprised. And I think with Jackson Dart, he does like there is a. I mean, I guess he's more of a what do you call like a project. But
Oh, okay.
I
So
mean, because they do
Russell's
have
property.
Russ. So I saw that Dable said Russ is our 100% day one starter. So
Hmm.
I mean, I guess in terms of I think that actually is a pretty good landing spot for him in terms of he gets to develop under Russ for a couple years, or a
Hmm.
year, whatever, and we'll see. I think. I mean, if you just look at some of the starting quarterbacks that are in the league now, like the elites, like Mahomes, even like I get Josh didn't sit year one, but like it took him time to develop, and
Yeah.
Jordan Love sat for like 2, 3 years. So I think that not necessarily, I mean, if you get a good top prospect, like Cam Ward has to start right away, but I think that it definitely does help these young quarterbacks for them to have like this veteran leadership under to them be under this veteran leadership and just get time to adjust and stuff. So
Yeah, now that I'm looking at it, I think he'll go to the Browns to but I hope he goes to Raiders. I think that'll be a perfect spot, especially with them getting Genty. Like they would have some names in Vegas. He'd get to be on the bench for a year or two. So, because Cleveland, I don't know if that's the best fit for him.
yeah.
They don't really have like they don't have much. But um, is there any other sleeper picks you liked in the first round?
Um, I did. I really liked the Eagles pick. The Chiefs traded back one spot with the Eagles for a fifth round pick, and they took Jahad Campbell, um, linebacker, but primarily pass rusher from Alabama. I mean, this is what they've just done consistently for the past just many years in the draft, just taking the best prospect from Alabama or Georgia, and it just seems
Hmm.
to like work out every single year. So,
Hmm.
I mean, they're already stacked. I know they lost some people some players in free agency that was on their D line, but
Hmm.
their most notable players like Jalen Carter and stuff. I
Oh,
mean,
the Florida coast.
they just have I don't know, their D line just got a lot better, I think, too, and just he's going to be in a great position just to develop and under those guys. So I thought that was a great pick. In terms of the Chiefs pick too, I like it. Obviously, offensive tackle was a or is a need, and they kind of addressed it in the offseason, but Jalen Moore has been a backup, so I know they gave him a lot of money and he could potentially be the starter, but I like the pick Josh Simmons. He got hurt, so I think he could have been a top 15. He would have been one of the top highest tackle prospects, I think, if he didn't get hurt and
Mhm.
if he wasn't, yeah. But so I like the pick. We'll see though. We'll see.
A pick I liked I don't know how to explain his name, but I saw him at Arizona is the receiver from Arizona going to the Panthers to Tario McMillian.
Oh yeah, yeah.
I like, Bryce Young getting a weapon, especially a young weapon. And I think the Panthers, I'm not gonna say they're gonna be good next year, but I think they can make a little step up, especially because of the end of last year, you saw some growth from Bryce Young. Kind of see like he still is that top like prospect. I know he's not doesn't have the craziest height or whatever, but I think I think with another weapon and another year, they can make a little bit of noise. Not noise, but they can not be a terrible team. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Yeah, no, I like that pick too. I thought they were definitely gonna go offense. I
Hmm.
thought they were gonna go with Colston Loveland, actually. That's who I thought they were gonna I thought because I thought they were gonna take just like you said, just another person to give Young another
Hmm.
weapon. But
Yeah.
I thought that was a great pick too. So um but I like the Bears taking Colston Loveland at 10, so two picks
Yeah.
after. I really like that. I mean, I've watched Colston Loveland more than I've watched Tyler Warren just because I've watched more Michigan games over the past couple of years. But
Hmm.
so I think Colston Loveland's gonna be great, and I like that pick for the Bears too. But
Yeah. I saw a lot of the Bears really were trying to trade up for Gentry.
yeah, yeah.
It seemed like they were trying to go offense, get Justin Fields some more weapons. So I think that's a good pick too.
Yeah. One pick that I was a little shocked at, maybe. I mean, I guess it kind of makes sense, but at 19, the Bucks drafted Emeka Egbuka, wide receiver from Ohio State. Were you that was one that kind of a little I was a little shocked at. I mean, it
Is it
was
more the player or just the position?
yeah, I mean, I guess it's I maybe they took best available in their eyes at that point, but it did kind of throw me off them taking a receiver,
Hmm.
especially with some of the people that I thought were still on the board.
Hmm.
Um, but I guess when you look at it, Mike Evans is getting older. Godwin has been injury prone these past couple years, and he's coming back off injury. So
Hmm.
maybe in that sense but
Yeah, I don't really understand.
I don't know.
I'm gonna
McMillan's been
say.
really good for them too to end off the season. So I
Hmm.
just I don't know. I don't know. Maybe if he turns out to be, maybe they view him as a future wide receiver one and a dominant player, which
Hmm. Yeah, maybe they drafted
he
best
could turn
available.
out to be. But I don't know. I just thought there was. Jahdae Barron literally got taken right after to the Broncos. I love that pick. That's another one. And as a Chiefs fan, I mean the Broncos defense was already dominant, especially
Hmm.
with all their offseason acquisitions. And I mean pairing him with Surtain, I mean they're just
Yeah.
gonna be they I wouldn't be surprised if they have the best defense like in NFL. And it's
Yeah.
not close. But like I don't know. So I was just a little shocked by that pick, but we'll see how it turns out.
Yeah. I don't have much more for the NFL draft.
Wait, let's talk about the Ra Do you like the Raiders taking Genty at 6?
I do, to be honest. Just I usually don't like running backs going that early, but they literally had no running back room. And Genty is one of those like he almost won the Heisman.
Yeah.
And it's te like I think it's more just like it's like not like a fun pick, but like it's gonna get the Raiders like, going like fans can root for in Vegas. That's what I'm saying. If they get Shador and Genty, those are like the two biggest names. I think even if it's maybe not the best on the field, like the fans are gonna love those picks. So,
Mhm. Yeah.
but purely for, football reasons, I would give it like a B. I would have went who would you have taken at their spot?
To be honest, that's where it gets tough. I mean, I guess you could have went tackle, and then at that point, I mean, that's just up to them who they think's the best tackle.
Hmm.
Because Will Campbell had already gone, who was consensus like top tackle. Armand Membu went right after. So I know I was talking to Kevin. He didn't like him as a prospect. So he was happy with the Genty pick. I
Hmm.
personally, it was a tough spot because I think I mean, I thought they were going to go defensive player, but I feel like a lot of the real impact, like Abdul Carter went already, Mason Graham just went, and Travis Hunter, of course. I thought they were going to trade up before the draft happened, honest.
Hmm.
But then once the Browns traded up, or I mean the Jags traded up, yeah, I didn't think they were going to trade up anymore. So, like you said, I think it's actually a pretty good pick now. I think the resurgence of the running back position this past year, what
Yeah.
Saquon did, obviously Derrick Henry and Josh Jacobs coming
Hmm.
back to Green Bay and having just a great season
Hmm.
definitely helped this. And I think more people and GMs are getting back to like just seeing how important the running back position can be, and especially
Yeah.
like you said with the Raiders, their running back room was, I mean, they had a lot of injuries on it this year. It was shaky too, and they just didn't have great talent. So, if you get a short guy, which Ashton Genty looks to be, I mean, it's really gonna help just their team and their offense, and they're gonna be able to rely on them. So I don't think it was a bad pick.
Another pick I really liked. I know it's like an obvious pick, but Abdul Carter to the Giants. Um,
Hmm.
I think he was probably from what I've seen, I'm not going to say I'm an expert, but I thought he was the best player in the draft. And then I think the Giants, I mean, I'm not saying they have a good team, but they have a really good D line, I think now. And even with the thing of Russell Wilson, I think they can be a decent team. I think Russell Wilson will be better for Premier League neighbors. And just that was the best pick there. I think Travis Hunter would have been decent there too if he fell, but I think Abdul Carter is like, say they're the number one pick. I think the Giants would have took Abdul Carter, so him falling to three was pretty nice for them.
One more thing too before we move on, that
Mhm.
did kind of surprise me, like right when it got picked. But then as I was thinking about it more, it kind of like I can see it does make sense. Is Omarion Hampton, the Chargers took him at 22.
Hmm.
North Carolina running back, and
Hmm.
you know he was. I think he was mostly consensus too after Ashton Genty. I know a lot of draft boards had him high, but I think he was more of a second round grade, if I'm not
Hmm.
mistaken. But the reason why it shocked me is they just got Najee Harris in free
Yeah,
agent.
I know.
So so that did shock me, but it's one of those things where I mean, if he turns out to be, obviously they're drafting him because they think that he has a lot of potential. They probably think view him as a potential superstar. And just like with the Jahmyr Gibbs trade, when the Lions got him that early, I mean not trade, but when the Lions picked him that early in the draft,
Hmm.
a lot of people were shocked and questioning the pick. But then look what he's turned out to be. I think he's one of the best running backs in the league. And
Yeah.
obviously this season, especially when Demo went down, he
Mhm.
when he got more of the usage, you really saw him, and no one's questioning that pick anymore now. So if Omarion Hampton turns out to have that type of like impact per se,
Mhm.
like then I mean it's a great pick. But I see it from the standpoint as the Chargers, with Harbaugh, they love running the ball. That's what they lean on. But
Mhm.
I was shocked because they got Najee. They just got him in free agency. So I don't know. But what are your
Yeah.
thoughts on that?
I think just like you said with the Lions getting Jahmyr Gibbs, these double back or not double backfields, but like or whatever. Yeah, having two running backs is,
Mhm.
it's really good. And Jahmyr Gibbs, like you're saying, like the Chargers probably believe because I think Jahmyr Gibbs, he wasn't was he supposed to be a first round pick that year? He was like,
Yeah, but I mean the Lions didn't they took him like top
yeah,
15
yeah, he was
round. I
supposed to
want
be
to say
like,
he's like 12, but
I think it was like Amarian Hampton's, similar. So they probably just have a, higher grade on him than maybe
yeah.
some others. But I don't think Najee's like he's good enough. I don't think he's a guy where you're like, I'm not gonna take a running back because I have Najee Harris on my team. You know what I mean?
Hmm. Okay, yeah, I know what you're saying. But so I mean, like, yeah, the more I was thinking about it, I mean, just like you mentioned too, the two running back tandem. I mean,
Hmm.
I think it's just gonna be perfect for their team, with what the Chargers just love to do, this year. They like they just love running the ball. That's what Harbaugh does. It takes a lot off Justin Herbert's plate too, helps him
Yeah.
out a lot. And I think you saw that his usage, just his volume of the amount of passes he's throwing a game went drastically down. And I think that helped their team. So I
Mhm.
mean, just I think this two running back tandem with Najee and Omari and Hampton is going to be great. And I'm excited to see it. But so yeah.
Yeah, I agree.
The only other, I thought they were going to take potentially a guard just because their guard play, their tackles are elite. But
Mhm.
their guard play did struggle this year, so that's who I thought they were going to take. But
Mhm.
just I mean, I still like the pick though. I really like it. But all right, moving on to the NBA part. Let's just start off with Warriors Rockets, the game two. It was a couple of days ago, but the Rockets beat the Warriors 109 to 94, and they even up the series before heading to Golden State now. Um,
I mean, as a Warriors fan, this was probably the worst possible thing, Jimmy getting hurt and a loss. But
yeah,
luckily, from the reports coming out, it's like a day-to-day thing with Jimmy. So he might miss game three, but like we'd be surprised if he missed more than, just, if he missed more than one game. Because the contusion is like something Steph had. I think Jimmy even had it, they said in the playoffs, and he didn't miss a game.
yeah.
So it's more just a pain tolerance thing. Did you think the play was dirty by a man?
No, I think it was just, just very unfortunate what happened. Because I mean,
Mhm.
kind of with the Draymond, like Draymond kind of would you really say he pushed them? I don't know.
I don't think Draymond pushed him,
They
but
were like
I don't think it was on purpose.
they were no, yeah, not on purpose, but they were like
Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think it was on purpose, just to answer your question. Like I don't think it was a dirty play.
Um,
What do you think? What do you think? Huh?
I don't think it was a
Yeah.
dirty play. I mean, there was I think Jalen Green like elbowed Pat Spencer and like it was a physical game, dirty on both like whatever. It was a
Oh, it was really physical on both ends, and yeah.
yeah,
But,
I mean, and the Rockets, I think they need to do that for them to have any chance to win. And Ime Udoka knows that, Dylan Brooks knows that, Amen knows that.
yeah.
Because they have they're bigger and like I think I said this in the previous thing, they just have to out, muscle the Warriors.
Yeah.
And they did this game. They got a big game from Jalen Green, which, I think I mentioned like Jalen Green's gonna have, one of these games in the series, then but he'll have another, he's a streaky player, so
Yeah.
he has someone you have to worry about. He was just on a heater, and
Mhm.
he's one of those guys, just basically like a spark plug. And if he gets hot, there's not much you can do about it. Other than that, Şengün had a decent game. He was blowing a lot of stuff that he should make. I won't say usually make. Um, but I was talking to my friend about it, like Junior. It's like I don't think this is a great win for Houston, to be honest. They got the win at home, but without Jimmy, Steph didn't have a crazy good game. Pods basically didn't even play because he was sick. Like no one on the Warriors really played well, and they didn't really blow out the Warriors. They won by 15, but it was never really a blowout. Um, on the Warriors side, really, I know we talk about him a lot because that's my favorite player, but I don't want to say I gave up on him, but just Kaminga he
Mhm.
had his chance and
Yeah.
he just his decision making skills and his really when it comes down to it, like in the playoffs, his whole thing is he can get a bucket. It's when it's really tough defense, he doesn't really have it,
Yeah. I,
which
I
is
I
too bad.
definitely I see what you're saying, and I was thinking the same thing about like this isn't the best win, type of win for Houston. Obviously, a win's a win, but I was thinking the same thing in terms of Golden State already took home court.
Hmm.
Obviously, I think almost everything that could have gone wrong went wrong for us.
Hmm.
Jimmy gets hurt. Pods is already, they're talking about how sick he is coming to the game. So
Hmm.
obviously, so we had a lot of people playing minutes that were not even in the rotation. Pat Spencer was getting double-digit minutes.
Yeah,
Post was playing a lot more minutes than he was in game one. And obviously Kaminga, who's been, I mean, was it three straight DNPs? Was it like
three straight. Yeah, three
three
straight.
straight? Obviously, he got a lot of minutes too. So I mean, we're just a lot of people in the rotation that normally weren't in the rotation, just because not only Jimmy went out, but for a while there, Pods. He ended up coming
Exactly.
back later in the game, but for a while he went back to the locker room.
Hmm.
And I mean, so in terms of that, and you got the Jalen Green game in this game,
Hmm.
which on the other side of it, I mean, confidence is a real thing and it can build. So I mean, who knows? This could be the game that just continues to build that confidence for him and he just doesn't cool down. But on the
Hmm.
other side, next three games in a row, he could just be very inconsistent again, and that'll
Hmm.
drastically change things. So for us to have every single thing go wrong in a sense, and for them to have, Jalen Green have this absolutely crazy game, I think yeah, I'm not too worried about it. Obviously, if Jimmy misses a couple games, then that'll be a little concerning, but we're it's tied 1-1 going back to Golden State, so I feel confident in what we could do.
Yeah, I feel confident. I think, like I said, I think Jimmy will only maybe miss a game. I think this was really a game you needed Kaminga, and even later in the
Yeah.
series, if Jimmy's, he's still healthy, but maybe he's not as healthy as he is. Like Kaminga's someone that you'd hope step up, but I think this game just shows it's not even the poor shooting, it's just the slow decision making skills. His defense is not where it should be. Like
Yeah.
he's getting blown by, and he's just not making he's not playing winning basketball basically, and it's frustrating to see because I'm a big fan of him. And he's like this isn't a game you need him with Jimmy out. That's somewhere someone you need some athleticism. He should match up well with the Rockets because he's our one athlete. But man, it's just tough. I give shout out to Quinn Post. I think he had a solid game. He had four threes. Pat Spencer even came in. I was a little surprised that he didn't play. He played so well in the first half, and then once Paz was healthy, they kind of just turned away from him. I remember I texted you. I was like, we were stressed, like, damn, Pat Spencer's in, but he played good, so I don't see why Steve Kerr didn't play him in the second half. That was a little confusing to me. Um, but you're saying you're not too worried about this series for the Warriors.
Yeah, let me rephrase that. Uh, Do I think I don't think we're gonna lose. Now, obviously the Jimmy injury changes a lot. Like you say, he might only miss one game, but one game could really be the difference in this series,
Yeah, yeah.
Especially just because we already took home court. And I mean, this is one if we were fully healthy. I mean, and obviously when I say that, I mean just having Jimmy and Pods on the court like we did in game one and stuff.
Hmm.
I think we take both these home games.
Hmm.
Not easily, but pretty like we would take both home games
Hmm.
um and have a chance to close it out in Houston. And even if not, we'd go back to Golden State for game six. But now I think Jimmy potentially missing a game, who knows how many. I think it does change a lot of things. Obviously, we saw what type of team we were before Jimmy came
Hmm.
here. And I think you even saw that with a lot of the rotations in this game. How many players we played like I don't know, like 10, 11 dudes,
Yeah,
like
we had
double
one.
digit minutes. But I'm not talking about the like Trace who came in at the end and
Yeah, yeah,
stuff.
yeah.
But
I think they had a one, two, three, four,
yeah, we played a
five,
lot.
six, seven. We played, yeah, 12 guys, including, so yeah, basically 11 without Jimmy.
Yeah.
Um, and
So that's the thing I am concerned about because every single game matters at this point. I think it'll be big if we can take these two home games, that'd be huge. I think that would really put us in a just a really great spot to just close out this series. And I think if Jimmy misses a game, though, it'd definitely be tough. And we'll see, though. Uh,
do
I'm
you
not.
think they could,
I'm not concerned until Jimmy, the full extent of how long he's going to be out for is known. Like I'm not going to say I'm not concerned. I'm a little
yeah.
concerned just because of that.
Do you think they could win a game say he doesn't, do you think they could win game three without Jimmy at home?
Yeah, definitely. That's why I'm not too concerned yet. Because if he ends up missing this game three, I think they definitely could win. I mean, being at home is definitely going to help a lot.
Hmm.
Especially they just had 2 days of rest. I think two full
Hmm.
days of rest, where they're going to have two full days of rest in between games. So because they played on Wednesday, next game's on Saturday, right?
Hmm.
Um,
Yeah.
yeah. So I think that's definitely going to help too. Especially because Steph has been playing a lot of minutes these past couple games.
Yeah.
But so it's gonna be definitely just another just grind hard out fought game, I think.
Hmm.
But I definitely like our chances in game three if we're without Jimmy. But what
I
about you?
agree. I agree. I don't know if they're gonna just have to find that second scoring option. Hopefully Pods is back healthy.
Oh, that's
But I
enough.
mean,
Yeah.
I'm just the Rockets, like I said, I don't think that's not to hate or anything. A win is a win, but that's just not an impressive win, to be honest. The only thing that worries us is just them on the glass. Even in the first game, they seem to grab every rebound and everything. But I think if we keep it close, even if we don't have Jimmy, I trust Curry in the clutch over anyone on the Rockets. Even if he doesn't have that sidekick, I think you just run Curry and then Draymond, I don't know who the closing lineup would be without Jimmy, but um, as long as you get maybe not that second option, but just a plethora of guys that, like we said in the 22 run, like just
Yeah.
combine to make that second option just for a game. Maybe Potts has, maybe Buddy Hield has a game. Moody maybe drops, 15 points. Um, if Kuminga, I don't even know if he'll play that many minutes after seeing what he did last game, but if he just at least, maybe just at least a threat. If he's not, maybe making the right decisions. Maybe if he plays 25 minutes and he has 10 points, but he's at least a threat, maybe that helps them a little bit. But like I said, maybe Curry just has a crazy game and everyone just combines to be that second option. They could win that game.
Now on the other side, a potential thing that could turn into a concern for us is, I mean, if Jalen Green just continues to be
Yeah.
just having performances like this, and I mean, definitely a swing factor, and it could even turn into an X factor for the series. I mean, if he's
Hmm.
putting up this type of offensive production, each game, I mean, the Rockets are really just hard to beat when they do that.
Hmm.
Because then they do have that consistent, reliable just offense, especially in the half court. Their offense is just completely different when he's playing like this. And another thing though is that I could think could be a swing for them is Fred VanVleet. I mean,
Yeah, he hasn't done
just
nothing.
like you mentioned about how we could have a plethora of guys, combining for that, you know,
Hmm.
that scoring. I mean, they could get the same thing with Jalen Green and Fred VanVleet,
Hmm.
Jalen Green might not have a 40-point game again, but I mean, both their guards could combine for just a great offensive explosion. And
Yeah.
like you said, Fran VanVleet hasn't had a great game so far. He's played like 40 minutes each game too. Um,
Hmm.
and that I mean, I think that's a testament to our defense as well. Just obviously Fred's a smaller guard, we're being physical. But he has missed just a lot of open shots as well too. I think a lot of shots that he'd normally make, you know off the
Hmm.
pick and roll. We've had some drop coverage moments where we've let him wide open and he's just missed it. So I think though, just the play of Jalen Green and Fred VanVleet is just going to be interesting to see. Because if they have just a very efficient and just great offensive productive game in game three, they could easily take it, especially if we don't have Jimmy.
Yeah. That's something I'm a little scared of, just if Fred VanVleet gets his
Yeah.
shit going, because he's not getting terrible looks. He's just missing them.
Yeah.
But other than that, I think Draymond's doing a good job on Şengün. Uh, Jalen Green, it is, something to worry about. And then they just do have a lot of bodies for Curry. But I think Curry's gonna say that I don't think if they don't have Jimmy, I can see Curry going for, a crazy game and just putting us on our back for a game, which we might need. But I don't know do you have anything else for the Warriors Rockets?
No, well, I'm just excited to see what happens in game three, obviously, especially if we don't have Jimmy, it's going to be just a real interesting game. Very important game, I think. But,
Hmm.
yeah, important for both teams. So we'll be doing an instant reaction to that tomorrow.
All right, moving on. I want to talk a little bit about the Knicks Pistons.
Okay.
They just had a really good game. And I want to ask you, is it because I talked to one of my friends about it and I was like, I think the Pistons are the real deal. Not like, but I think they're a good team. But then their argument was, the Knicks are frauds because
I was about to
they
mention
won by
that.
two
Yeah.
to the Pistons, who, the Knicks should be on, the Cavs, Celtics level. Do you think the Knicks are there, or like them barely squeezing out a game against the Pistons is showing them that, they're not on the level of the Cavs or, the
I
Celtics?
mean, it's not just not seeing this series in this past game, just I'm not making my stance just off based off that one game. I mean, this is
Mhm.
more just everything that's happened this year. I mean, I think the Knicks are what like they haven't beaten the
Yeah, they
top team in the
haven't.
East, right? Or they
Yeah.
won? Are they do they have one win? I don't know. Or if they
I
are
just know they had a terrible record against.
yeah, I mean, like you said, I mean, with the talent that they have, especially, I think they have a pretty good constructed team, in terms of
Yeah. On
complementary
paper.
pieces fitting
Yeah.
together. They
Hmm.
should be on that level and they just haven't been. And, you know, I know I don't, it's not always good to deal in hypotheticals, but I mean, a Cleveland or a Boston, I don't think they would be having this much trouble for Detroit with Detroit.
Yeah.
And obviously matchups make fights and styles make fights, but
Mhm.
like, I don't know, just like I think the Knicks, like you were big on the Knicks before the season started. They should be
Yeah.
on that level and just for whatever reason they just aren't. And it's just, yeah. I'm not worried about them getting out of this series. I know they've had two close games now. The one that they lost, I mean, it was another clutch time game down the stretch, and the Pistons just made shots. Like, Schroeder
Hmm.
hit a really big shot in that other game. The one that
Shooter's
they
been real big for the Pistons. He's
yeah.
been real
So
good.
I'm not concerned about them closing out this series. these games might end up being a lot closer than I thought. I mean, I mentioned that some of them were going to be like I contributed to like even though I thought the Knicks were going to win in five, it could be like the Boston
Hmm.
net series from a couple years ago with Katie and them, where almost every game except one I think was a blowout. Every
Hmm.
single game was close except one. So it's kind of gone that way, but I'm not concerned about them getting out this round. But like you said, I'm more concerned about them just facing what Boston next round. Like
Yeah,
they're
that's
just.
gonna be
I mean,
that's
obviously
very.
Tatum's hurt. I don't think it's gonna be that bad, but
Hmm.
um, yeah. I mean, I just don't see them making any noise after this.
Um, a big worry for me because I like the Knicks is it's Tom Thibodeau just not trusting his bench basically at all. Cameron Payne had a big game one, and then these past two games he's been playing. This game he played 9 minutes, and last game he played I think like 5 minutes. And it's like I don't understand. Yeah, he had 14 points in 15 minutes. He basically won them game one. He helped with that 21-0 run, and then the next game he plays 4 minutes. And then this
Yeah,
game he plays 9 minutes. It's like, and then his starters are playing 40, like all playing 40 plus minutes. It's like, I don't really understand that. That's why I was always saying like they need to get one more bench piece. But I think even if they got a bench piece, like Tom Thibodeau's maybe not trusting that these bench pieces. They played a 9-man rotation, but it's not really a 9-man because Shamet played 4 minutes, Miles McBride played 9 minutes.
yeah,
Mitchell Robinson played, 16 minutes, actual
yeah,
player, but I don't know. I think he just has to trust his bench a little more, especially, when you watch the games. Josh Hart plays real hard and everything, but they're just not really guarding him. So I think if you just put, campaign in just for some of those minutes, it'll just unlock a little bit of something. And, that's the only thing I'm worried about. Because, like we're saying on paper, their starting five like fits perfectly, has the talent to, be as good or better than the Cavs and even the Celtics. I think they can match up really well with them, but they just haven't looked that. They haven't looked like the level of the Celtics or Cavs at all. But saying that, I do want to give a shout out to the Pistons because they are, I think they are a good basketball team. And I think they would. I know you said the Celtics and Cavs want to give them trouble, but I think they would. They're probably still losing 4 or 5, but I think they would, grind these games out and make it a series for, not a series, but like you said, like make these close games. I think, they have that one A guy in Cade, and then they don't have that, second option right now, but they have a lot of good surrounding pieces. I think they're a solid team. They're still one piece away, but giving them the Knicks little issues is just I think it's good for the league. The Pistons been so bad. But I still have some hope in the Knicks. And I know they're playing Boston next round, and that's a tough matchup, but I hope they can, maybe squeeze out a couple games and make it a series. Because talent-wise, I think the Knicks have so much talent, even like similar to the Celtics level talent. It's just for some reason it's not coming together as well because they have talent and fit wise. Technically, they have two wings. They have Josh Hart, the dirty work guy, and then they have the two. They have Brunson, a bucket getter, and Cat, who should be, talent wise, he should be like the best player in this year, like like one of the best players in the league. It's just that sometimes you got to get them going, which is a little bit of trouble.
yeah. I've actually been one that's always kind of liked playing your stars like a lot of minutes, especially in the playoffs, like Tom Thibodeau's thought process. I
Hmm.
mean, someone like, Steph, I know that the announcers, forgot who it was, it might have been Gundy, but they were talking about, they wanted to try to keep his minutes down, and that contributed to part of the rest he got in the second quarter when they went on that run, the Rockets. Because, with someone who just with Steph, is on ball, off ball movement a lot,
Hmm.
especially being a smaller guard, um, as well, like, running him, 45 minutes a game is not something that you typically want to do. But I feel like the Knicks, have, a lot of those players you could do that with, like Mikal and OG. Um,
Hmm.
especially just the impact that they have on the defensive end, which I think they really need that in this series, especially with Cade. Um, but I see what you're saying against Josh Hart. I don't know. I just always I've kind of liked that philosophy. If you have the players to do it. Obviously if you don't have the players to do it, you can't. But So I see what you're meaning though, where they should throw campaign a lot in there a lot more. I
Hmm.
think that is someone that they could rotate and give him more minutes, especially because he's been that spark plug off the bench a lot of times, and has
Yeah.
given them that just that shot creation which they do need, you know.
Mhm.
But
That's the one guy. I understand what you're saying
yeah,
because the best players on the court, and I know you say injuries and all that, but I don't. I think like playing the guys is, that's what I believe in too. Just for the flow of the game,
yeah,
your minutes are coming from, you're gonna be comfortable. But campaign, just the one guy, I think I would give at least 15, 20 minutes to just because he is that spark. They do, although they have, Brunson. Other than that, their shot creation, they kind of do lack that. So I think campaign, he showed it in game one, he's gonna
yeah,
bring something to the table, and give a little bit of a break for, Brunson. Maybe Brunson can play a little more off the ball and stuff. So.
yeah, yeah. But yeah, I mean, something that I wanted to go back to and touch on. It was a game from a couple games ago, and there was one yesterday. It was the Clippers and Nuggets.
Hmm.
Game two happened right after our last pod. So, and obviously they played game three yesterday. The Clippers blew them out. But
Hmm.
just in that end of game two, Clippers ended up taking it by three, 105 to 102. So they stole home court. And a lot of things that we were talking about in our previous pod was that we trust the Nuggets to out execute them late in the game, and if they're in a lot of these close games, we expect Denver to be in control of it and take it. But it was the complete opposite in that game too, the
Yeah.
Nuggets. Especially the last couple minutes, their execution was horrible. That's the reason why they lost the game.
Hmm.
Turnovers at the end. Jokic, I think he had like 7 or 8 in the whole game, and
Hmm.
he had one in like that basically ended the game. They had a chance to tie it in their last possession, and he just turned it over for
Hmm.
the point. So, what were your thoughts on that? Obviously, they ended up getting blown out in game three on the road, so that his series has taken a big turn after that as well. But what'd you make of that game too, also?
Um, from that game too, I just like what I said. I think the Clippers are the best, as the worst, their best team in the West. And in the game two, you have Kawhi, who I think you trust more than anyone in the playoffs. And then they have great defensive weapons that you saw, like Chris Dunn, he was locking stuff up. Zubac has been big in this series. And then game two, who do you remember who they closed out with
That,
the
that
Nuggets
was
in
the
game
one,
two?
Michael Porter Jr. Are you talking about for the Nuggets?
With the Nuggets, that's the game where Michael Porter Jr. had like that costly turnover, right?
Yeah, and he got hurt off his shoulder.
Yeah,
He got banged. Yeah,
yeah,
yeah.
yeah. Yeah, he had a costly turnover.
They were letting a lot of things play. I liked it. They were letting
Yeah. The
play.
playoffs, but they've been doing that the whole
Yeah,
playoffs,
yeah,
which I
yeah,
enjoy.
yeah. But
The Nuggets, they just seem to not. I can't say that because they lost, close game, but it's just with Michael Porter Jr., he's not really he's been really to be very blunt, he's been really bad. Like he's a player that you should close out every game with just because they need his shooting, but his play's been so bad where you can't close the games out with him. So it's just not ideal, you know what I mean?
yeah,
I think our game two, he had 15 rebounds, 15 points. He had a solid game, but I remember that game he had a costly turnover. And this game, I watched a little bit of it, but it was a blowout. He just hasn't really been hitting, and his shot creation's not as, not very good because of his little back injury. And then other than that, like they're not getting much. They don't have much off the bench, scoring wise. Russell Westbrook, in game one, he won the game with just his hustle and everything. But it seems like if it's basically just a Jokic and Murray show, and then they're kind of trusting everyone else to, play defense, play their role. But the Clippers just have a couple more weapons because as the Nuggets have two weapons, it seems like the Clippers basically have four, weapons in Harden, Kawhi, Zoo, and then Norman Powell. So it just seems like the Clippers just have two more options, which is kind of the deciding factor in this series to me.
yeah, yeah. No, 100% agree with you. And we both took the. Did we take the Clippers in six or
Six. I
five? I'm
think
wondering.
so. I
Six.
think I took Clippers in six. Yeah, I
Okay.
think we both did.
Okay. But just based off this game three performance now, and just I mean, it's just dominant performance on both ends of the court. Do you think the series is over now? Like,
Um, I think it's gonna be Clippers in six. I think they'll get this next home game. I think Nuggets will get theirs at home, and I think Clippers will get theirs at home.
Hmm.
But I mean, if I think as long as I know I don't want to jinx anything, but as long as Kawhi is healthy, and Harden keeps doing what he's doing, they're a bad matchup for anyone, but I think they're a bad matchup for Denver just because Jokic, even though he's been playing super good, it's just the same thing. He's just kind of getting, would you say he's getting abused in this series?
You, I mean,
He's
it,
getting abused.
yeah, yeah,
He's getting
yeah,
abused. Just Zubac is just kind of feasting. He's
yeah.
doing his thing on offense. Like, don't get me wrong, he's still getting his triple doubles, whatever. But and it's nothing really against him. I feel like any big is even like a big like Embiid, who's like one of the best defensive players. It's just Harden is just gonna.
Well,
He's just a maestro in those pick and rolls and those any actions. Harden is just he's turning back the clock and just his IQ showing. It's just it's tough on Jokic. It's tough to watch, basically.
yeah, well, that's what we talked about. His one biggest weakness, in that pick and roll,
Yeah.
bringing him up to that third level, and obviously just trying to recover or just, Zubac and stuff. And, we both said that Harden was just the perfect person to attack that
Hmm.
just big weakness that they had on defense. And
Yeah.
that, yeah. So, I mean, yeah, I mean, he is getting the views. Yeah, yeah. But,
Yeah. I didn't want to say it, but
yeah.
that's
But
that.
I could
And
easily see. I mean, if the Clippers, I believe they're going to take this game comfortably again too. Or just well, I'll just say they're going to take it and go up 2-1. I mean 3-1. I mean, and I mean if I can easily see them closing it out at Denver, especially if just they get. I mean, they've gotten this past game. Norman Powell was just another consistent, just scoring option, and he gave them
Mhm,
just really good minutes, which he had done the majority of the season. And
mhm,
before he got hurt. So I think, like you said, the Nuggets have been really struggling getting any offensive production outside of Jamal and Jokic. And
mhm,
obviously maybe home court plays a big role in that.
mhm.
So I guess going back to Denver for a game 6, what would that be? Game 5? Game 6?
Game 5.
Game 5. You could see that spark maybe from
Mhm,
these other players, but I don't know. I could also see in it especially if they get blown out in a similar fashion that they did in game 3 and game 4 here, and they go back home going down 3-1. I could see the effort just really not being there at all. And
Yeah. That's very
especially
true.
that's the one thing with how bad Denver's defense has been this
Mhm,
past year with all the problems that they had. Just having no effort just completely adds to that. Because some of the
mhm,
stuff that you know, you, it's crazy what effort can do and just being just really alive on the defensive end. It can kind of hide a lot of your weaknesses at times, which is
mhm,
why you can see them. They look like a, serviceable defense in some of these games where they end up winning that. Like in
mhm,
game 1, their defense was great down the stretch. And I think a lot of
mhm,
that has to truly just do with effort. And I could see them just really, I don't want to say giving up, but just that effort just not being there in this game 5. Because I've seen it at other times in the regular season.
mhm.
They ended the season just like barely over 500 in their last 20 games.
Yeah.
I could really see that happening too if they get just completely blown out again in this game 4. But
Uh, I agree. I think this series, yeah, is probably a wash. And looking forward, I have a little question for you because the Thunder, they're probably going to sweep the Memphis. Do you think the Thunder match up better than, I'm not saying the better, like, I think they're, of course, a better team, but just matchup wise, do you think they match up better with the Clippers because they have the two bigs and they have all these defenders, they can throw at Kawhi and Harden?
yeah, it'll be interesting because I feel like though Kawhi, I mean, they got Lu Dort, but a lot of their perimeter guys are like, I think Kawhi is still going to be able to take advantage of those matchups a lot. I,
Yeah.
def I definitely see that. The two bigs things, I guess Hardenstein is more physical, but in a sense, their two bigs aren't, that's not what they really are, that physical type of
I just
nature.
think I just think they won't get as like fried in the pick and roll as Jokic. You know what I
Yeah, I
mean?
don't think they will, but
I mean, I'm not saying Harden, is a great player, he can do it to anyone, but just I don't really see them as a liability and
yeah,
as
100%. I mean, that's why I mean, for the whole year, they were basically the best defense in the NBA since the Jimmy trade. I think the
Mhm,
Warriors have been, but I mean, they won 68 games for a reason. Most of that was built on their defense. And like
Hmm.
we mentioned before, their defense creates just these easy opportunities and transition for their offense and just sets up a lot of things for their offense. So they'll definitely, I mean, their defense going from Denver to OKC will definitely is the big difference. So like you said, they will not be getting as abused, like you said.
Hmm.
I still like certain situations where I think Kawhi and just Harden and Zubac even are going to be able to take advantage of it still. But that's why I mean it's a completely different defense. It'll be a completely different series.
Hmm.
Um, yeah, so that'll be interesting to see. I wanted to ask you, I mean, the OKC did come back down 29, I think, but what do you think of the jaw injury? It was a little similar, I guess, to the
The Jimmy, yeah.
knee injury, but in terms of like undercutting and the situation.
I I don't know because I saw the play. He didn't. It looked like he slipped.
I was about to say that he did slip, yeah.
So
Trying.
I don't know if it's. I don't know if it's dirty or not. It's tough because Memphis is probably winning that game if Jaw's healthy.
Yeah.
But I think they should still, or not even talk about the injury, I guess. I don't have much to say about the injury, just unfortunate. Jaw's been dealing with this, but this is kind of more of a freak accident, so you can't really say it's like a, I guess, but I mean he is, I guess high flyers happen to it happens more likely to them. But uh looking more into the game, I think when you have, you paid Desmond Bain and Jaren all this money, like they have to close out a game like this. Like even without Jaw, especially with the game you're getting from Scottie Pippen Jr. He had a great game, playing great defense, just knocking shots down. You have to win this game. Desmond Bane's had a stinker. Um, I don't know. It's like we mentioned before, Memphis gonna have to do something this offseason because them getting swept in the first round, that's just not where they're supposed to be at right now. We were saying they should be they were at top three seed at one point, you know. We've always like even when they're top three seed, you're always saying like, oh, no one even trusts them, but getting swept in the first round just shows they're gonna have to do something this offseason. I know we mention it like every podcast.
Yeah, I agree. And we'll dive into that more once they get eliminated.
Yeah,
But
yeah.
I wanted to turn to the Pacers and Bucks series. I think we
Mm-hmm.
both had the Bucks in 7 just because we were unsure about the Dame status. Like I
Mm-hmm.
wanted to take Bucks in 6, but wasn't sure about the Dame status. So Bucks are down 0-2 right now. I mean, they lost both games at Indiana, so both road games. Dame returned for this game.
Mm-hmm.
You could definitely see just him knocking off the rust for a lot of that game. He did make a lot of shots in the first half, but
Mm-hmm.
he ended up 4 for 13. Hit a big three in their late game rally. That was something that was interesting.
Mm-hmm.
They were down for a lot of that game, and they just went on this just really good like I don't know what it was like 7 or 10-0 run in the late fourth quarter to cut the lead to like three. It was
Mm-hmm.
two after Dame hit that long three, and then I mean the Pacers just took over again. Like it was Siakam hit a just open three, and then Nimhard. That's another person who I think has stood out really well in this series on both ends. Just him guarding Dame and
Mm-hmm.
just he's been that sort of guy that they could also rely on to just get a bucket for them. This whole game throughout the course of the game. He was
Mm-hmm.
just someone that would just drive, just hit a little nice step back mid range, just his elevation, his shot was just hitting. And I mean, that's been just, I think, he's evolved into just another great, I think, reliable player for them. But
Mm-hmm.
what do you see? Dame's obviously back. They got both games at home. So are you concerned at all or for the Bucks or?
I mean, I wouldn't say, like you said, they got both games at home, which is what they should do. But I don't think the Bucks are like done for this series. They just have to, get these two home games. And I still probably have Bucks in 7. But Indiana has looked, I don't want to take anything. Indiana has looked very good. Just the flow of their offense, everyone's eating. Uh,
Yeah.
Siakam's playing real well. Nemhard seems like to be like a playoff riser. Um, so it's gonna be tough. It's really gonna have to be. I know Dame had a pretty bad, I would say bad first game. Rusty from this, blood clots. Hard to come back from that. But if Dame comes back to what he is, then like we said, the Bucks have the two best players in the series. So it's gonna be tough for the Pacers to, you know, to defeat, the two best players in the series. But if I'm the Pacers, you just kind of have to keep doing what you have to do. Siakam's been, stepping up. And maybe if I'm the Pacers, I think you just have to play the let Giannis eat and no one else,
Mhm.
that type of defense, like let Giannis eat and no one else does anything, which I think is the best type of defense for that because Giannis has been becoming a really good passer. So as long as you're, playing one-on-one defense and he's going to get his buckets, but if Kuzma starts scoring 20 or Taurean Prince starts, having a heater, Brook Lopez, then it's just going to be almost impossible for the Pacers to win this.
Yeah, I know what you're saying. One thing that stood out to me is like, I mean, we talked about it with just I don't know if committee is the type of word, but for the style of team that they have and how their offense is, obviously the flow, very fast paced, and just a lot of people just contributing, how much of that would be sustainable
Hmm.
in the playoffs in this type of setting. But I mean, their players have just played fantastic. We've talked about a lot of players have risen up, like Nembhard on both ends of the court. Siakam has been playing extremely well. And one thing that stood out to me in this game too was the timeliness of these plays that they were making. It seemed that the reason why they got out to just a big lead and continued to maintain it was they were taking advantage of just a bunch of the Bucks missed opportunities, whether that was turnovers or the Bucks missing like a wide open three or even a layup at one point. They missed a layup and then the Pacers go right back down and hit just a contested three, and that's a 5 point swing right there. Seemed like they had a lot of those moments, which I mean can truly change a game at points. So,
Hmm.
but Bobby Portis was a guy that I mean, a lot of it was when they were down, but then he's the one that really sparked their comeback in the fourth quarter.
Yeah.
I mean, he finished with 28. So, I mean, he was a really standout in this game. If they can, obviously, there were times where he would have these type of games for them over the past couple seasons and even this year. But obviously, he had the suspension and was out for a couple months, and
Hmm.
just recently returned. But so I think, I mean, if they can get this type of, just production from him, I think that would just really change the dynamic of their whole team right now, especially if you get Dame just working up back to where he was before the injury.
Hmm.
Um, like you said, I think they can really just turn the series and be dangerous. But on the Pacers end, I think it'll just be interesting to see just how their whole just offense continues to flow, especially on the road, because it's truly different playing a playoff game on the road. So I think it'll be interesting to see. But
Yeah, I agree with everything you said. I think it's gonna be a great series. I know the Pacers kind of blew them out in the first two games. What was the score of the second game? 117, 108, and then
the,
it was
the Bucks came back at the end. Like Dame hit a
yeah,
shot with a couple minutes left, and it brought the lead to within two. But then Indiana just went on their
yeah.
own 7-0 run after
I
that.
think it'll be a good series.
Uh,
And do you want to move on to I don't really want the Boston, Orlando, or
I
OKC.
don't.
I was gonna talk about the Lakers. Timberwolves are playing
Yeah,
tonight.
we can just quickly.
Mhm.
I don't know if Tatum's playing or not today. I didn't see that. I think the Celtics are either going to win at 4 or 5. I think the
Mhm.
Magic could, especially if Tatum's out again, the Magic could take a game on the road, especially if they get, just Paulo and Franz just putting
Yeah.
up just 25 each, just another great
Mhm.
offensive performance. But I mean, for those two game series, I don't think we don't need to say that much. I see the Cavs winning 4-5. Both of them are going to win in 4 or 5, but
But to be honest, my favorite series I think is going to be the Lakers Timberwolves.
Lakers Timberwolves.
I think it can go seven. I know people might say the first game maybe was a fluke for Minnesota, but even last game, the Lakers game, uh, McDaniels, I think it was it McDaniels and Naz Reid had fouls early, or McDaniels and Alexander Walker had
I
fouls
think,
early, which kind of
yeah,
messed up the whole Timberwolves,
yeah.
game. They had a big game from Randall, but going back to Minnesota, Minnesota did their job. They still won in LA, but I think this is where the series really starts. This game is I mean every game is important, but this game three is going to be extremely important.
Yeah, I agree with you, and it's definitely gonna be. I mean, this is definitely going 6 or 7. I think I'd be surprised. I mean, I was wrong with my thing. I think I picked the Lakers in 5, but
Hmm.
obviously it can still happen. But we'll see. I really liked. I mean, it seemed like the Lakers made a lot of adjustments in this game too, especially
Yeah.
with that. There's this one play, and I saw other people talking about it too, where it was this kind of this screenplay that they were running with LeBron and.
Hmm.
Um, the Timberwolves had really just locked it up. I'm gonna try to find it, but I really like the adjustments that JJ Redick made. A lot of counter moves to the Wolves counters in that game one that shut off a lot of the Lakers their go-to plays and stuff. So I really like that. And just the intensity was just completely different in this game. Now, like
Hmm.
you said, the Wolves did get into foul trouble early, some of their players, which did mess up the flow and the rhythm. So I think this game three is going to be just a very important game for each team. The Lakers obviously got to try to steal home court back. So we'll see what happens. But yeah,
Um, yeah, excited for this game tonight. Um, and I hope Minnesota wins, but I know the Lakers Warriors
you
will
want
play.
Minnesota to win now? Would you rather play, assuming we get out of our series, but
Mhm.
who would you rather play, the Lakers or Timberwolves?
Like for fun, you'd rather play the Lakers because it would be like we're in LA, it would be like crazy. We'd maybe pop out to a
Oh,
game,
yeah.
but if I want to win a series, I probably want to play Minnesota because even though Minnesota has all the defenders to throw at Steph and everything, I just would not be like I would just not want to play Luca and LeBron. That's just something you
Mhm.
don't want to play. And
Yeah.
and they don't have the defenders to really throw at Curry. And they don't have a big, so that's, nothing to worry about. But I think if we play Minnesota, we can really take advantage of Gobert. Steph can really take him out the game in those pick and rolls. And then they can kind of clog the paint, with Rando and Gobert there. Still gonna be a tough series. Like both these teams are really, really good teams. So
Yeah.
it's not like I have Warrior like I wouldn't be surprised if the Warriors lost the series against either of them. But I just rather play. But Anna's still gonna, Anna's still on that level too as like a top guy, but just Luka and LeBron, I just would not want to play. Who would you rather play?
That's tough. I would to truly make my decision. I'm gonna have to just watch this series more. I think I'll
Hmm.
have a better just sense of who I would want to play just later on by game six or not. But because just my initial thoughts like you, it's just I'd rather not play a Luca and LeBron team. But
Yeah.
on the other side of it, just the Lakers truly don't have anyone to make Steph uncomfortable. And I mean,
Hmm.
that's what it comes down to in a lot of these series, just how uncomfortable can you make the other team, who can uh just use their advantages to make the other team more uncomfortable than they can make you uncomfortable. Um,
Yeah.
and in a lot of these series, you've already seen that. Steph, obviously game one. I want to say he was true. He just hit a lot of crazy shots too. But the Lakers truly don't have anyone, especially now with just not having that paint presence, which was always Anthony Davis. They don't have anyone that could really just make him uncomfortable. He's gonna just get to his spots, and that's truly a difference maker. And
Hmm.
I think Minnesota just has those got a lot more bodies they can throw at him on the defensive end, and um, so that's something that's the main thing for me. That's the only reason why I would lean wanting to play the Lakers. But
Hmm.
I'll see and I'll make a decision as we continue to see the series fold out. But
Yeah.
because I'm learning a lot more about the Wolves than I thought just by watching
Yeah.
the first two
Yeah.
games. So
They're a lot better than I thought. Like actually watching the games,
yeah,
they are 8-man rotation. It's just really like
yeah.
it seems like they have no bench players. With Dante, Naz Reid, and Nikhil off the bench, it's just I can see Gobert getting like even in this series like
Something that's
he hasn't.
sorry,
Yeah,
sorry for cutting you off, but
weapon. I hear
something
you.
that I'm interested in is the Lakers have been, and I kind of understand it. They've seemed to trying to target Gobert in those pick and rolls,
Mhm.
and really
Yeah.
get those ISOs. Luka's been ISOing them in a lot, but I've thought Gobert has done actually a pretty good job at forcing, just tough shots, and he's
No,
won a
he's
lot of
been
those
holding his
battles.
own. Yeah.
I was, going into this, I thought they were going to target, DiVincenzo more often, and
Hmm.
those two guys that you just mentioned. So, and I've still been waiting to see that because I feel like, obviously, traditionally, you want that big, you want Luca going up against that big. He's talked about a bunch of times he likes that matchup. I
Hmm.
don't know, I just think Gobert's just done a great job of just guarding that. So I'll be interesting to see, game three's tonight. I'm interested in seeing their approach and if they go at attacking DiVincenzo more. Because, and Mike Conley too. That's someone
Yeah.
who I thought they would be trying to exploit those guys more. But especially because that could really just get them off the court more too.
Hmm.
We'll see. That's just something that I'm looking out for. Okay.
Yeah. Yeah. Anything else?
Um, no, I mean, I just think, I mean, we talked about how a bunch of these game twos were going to be just very important games and we're going to learn a lot. I mean, same thing with game three. I mean, I think just in a lot of just the playoffs, we're going to learn something from every single game. Every single game is going to be interesting. So, we got two really good games tonight. I think, Pacers, Bucks, and then the game we just talked about, Lakers, Timberwolves. So, um, will be interesting to see. If the Lakers can take back home court advantage. Obviously, this is the must win for the Bucks. If they go down 3-0, that's just not going to be good. So,
Yeah.
yeah. But anything else you want to say before we get out?
No, that's about it. Um, Excited to watch this Lakers game tonight. Hopefully Jimmy's back healthy. Um, and yeah, that's about it.
All right. See you
All
guys.
right.